Thank you for that introduction. So, we'll be talking about sports, but I promise you about the Manchester United score from last night. We're going to forget that. We'll be looking more at sport, harnessing the power of sport to deliver peace, prosperity, and security across Commonwealth Africa. Now, I've known Aisha Johansson for about 6-7 years now. I met her a year before she became the first elected female FA president of Sierra Leone in 2013. She's currently the only female FA president in Africa, and the second, yes, that is and the second across the world. So that's a remarkable achievement. She's also the first female to be elected as CAF Executive Committee member. And she served in FIFA Integrity and Security Committee and now serves in FIFA Members Association Committee. So great accomplishments right over there. Aisha, please come. Pleasure having you here. When you came into office in 2013, you were hit within a year of the Ebola epidemic hitting your country. Tell us how, in terms of sports, how the Federation got involved to help support your country.
Yes, with the Ebola epidemic, I can say this, it hit the world, but it hit Sierra Leone and neighboring Liberia and Guinea for 6. We didn't see anything like that coming. I have to say, first of all, that Sierra Leone has had its fair share of knocks. We had a brutal civil war, and just as we started getting to grips with things and starting to move on, Ebola hit, and unlike the civil unrest, we actually could see our enemies and we knew which territories not to go, and we were able to identify the rebels. But with Ebola, it was a real psychological warfare. You couldn't see it, and it could hit you at any time. How did we deal with it? We didn't know how to deal with it, and that's the honest truth, because first of all, football was at a standstill. No football, we couldn't congregate, no football gatherings, watching TV, the Premier League stopped, all sorts of interaction, because of course football and Ebola, it seemed like they went hand in hand. It was blood, sweat, interaction, that kind of thing. So we didn't know how to deal with it, and that's the honest truth. It was just pure fear. But I stayed behind, and I was lucky. I wasn't so restricted from traveling out of the country. So I actually remember coming to FIFA, to the head office, and I spoke to President Blatter at that time, and I said to him that something horrible is about to hit. And I'll be honest, then it wasn't even full blown. It had crept into Sierra Leone from Guinea. It had hit Liberia and crept it, and it was coming into Sierra Leone. And he says, "What is this disease?" And I said, I know nothing of this disease, but if it is what they're saying it is, then it's football. It means we're going to be seriously infected for a long time. So anyway, long and short of it is, he said, "Okay, we've got to stop. We don't know how to fight this, so there's very little they can do." But I said, there is something we can do. We can use the power of football. We can use the faces of Ronaldo's and Messi's. We can use these personalities who speak volumes. They don't have to speak, they don't have to be Swahili, they don't have to speak Afrikaans, they don't have to. Ronaldo speaks volumes, he speaks all languages, it's football. Let them be the ones to be at the fore of this fight for us in terms of awareness and maybe even prevention, the little that we knew about it. So I guess it started from there. I spearheaded that 11 days ago there with Vanessa and Ronaldo in progress. And then after that, started to appeal to the UN, and I just got everybody that I put on board to help us fight Ebola through awareness and prevention.
But of course, as well, at that time, your country couldn't play any football matches in Sierra Leone. But you did, as it was coming to an end, you did do a lot of initiatives, getting matches organized and work for the young girls in your country in terms of playing football, and that started quieting down a little bit, didn't you?
Well, not so much for the girls. but that's a separate one. But I have to say that I commended DRC Congo, Ivory Coast, and in particular Nigeria, because yes, we couldn't play football in Sierra Leone, and we were in the qualifiers, and I absolutely wanted for us to participate. The fact that our country was hit by Ebola was really fought about, it could happen to anybody. And so I saw no reason why we should be stigmatized. I saw no reason why we should be put in a containerized, if you like, because of Ebola. I wanted for us to participate, and to participate as well as we could. So spoke to the other FA presidents, and again through the football there was solidarity, strong solidarity there. And so we played our home matches away,
neutral territory,
which was at our own disadvantage. But the fact of the matter is, we wanted to stay in the game. It was imperative that we stayed in the race. But Nigeria also gave us the opportunity to have a neutral playing field, which we played in Port Harcourt against Cameroon it was, and that was a very close call. No, sorry, Ivory Coast, and that was a close call for Ivory Coast, and I just so wish that we had that kind of opportunity for a neutral turf. But yes, we were able to do that and slowly start to build the Sierra Leone female team. That was very, very difficult because as young girls with their parents, the culture and the Ebola fear, it was very hard to get them training. But yes.
Looking as well at some of the positive work that you do in football in your country, FC Johansen Club as well, that's helping, of course, to provide peace and security for the young youth. Tell us more about that.
Well, FC Johansen is a club that I founded. It's a Premier League club. It's 14 years old, and with no bias, it is one of the best clubs in the country. But it's, FC Johansen, I call it the field of dreams. It's a story of hope, success against the odds. It's a story of peace and reaching out to the world to see a better Syria, a better Africa, and not one of the doom and gloom child soldiers. So, yes, these were just 9, 10-year-old kids in the neighborhood who were orphaned from the Civil War and certainly displaced. And I saw them after months of training, and these boys would be playing on, and it wasn't a pitch, we're talking about 25 meters of a slope. So on a precarious slope, they'd be playing football till like 8, 9 at night, no floodlights or anything. So of course it dawned on me that these kids had no homes. And so one thing led to another, and I approached them. Suffice to say, they didn't believe that I was Sierra Leone or African. They said, this is some American woman coming to what have you. So we went through all of that, and I said to them, I said, look, believe it or not, this game that you play and love so much, clearly, I love the same game. And we can strike a deal. I can start with buying you sandals. I can start with giving you a little bit of money for water and breads and snacks as you play, but promise me that you stay in school. Come to school with me, and then we can do the football. And if we're able to strike that balance, then, we're in for winning here. So a bit of convincing, well, actually not that much convincing because we're hungry most of the time. Put them back in school. Bought balls, jerseys, and help them, put them in community leagues, the under 12s, the 10s. And that's how it started, making inroads, and then I started to take them out. In 2004, I think I took them to the first international match in a youth tournament in Sweden, and they came back as silver medalists. And this story of these kids from war-torn Africa, with great talents, etc., etc. And there's a story I have to share with everybody. And that, for me, it brought me to tears. But now I don't cry so much. But it just goes to show, again, that language barrier that football cuts across. We had the Ukrainian kids there, kids from Belarus, and of course, FC Johansen, Sierra, and we were the invitational team. And everybody, newspaper articles about this team from war-torn Africa and child soldiers. And after dinner, one of the kids, the captain of the Belarus team, came and he was like, and he touched the captain, and we're talking now 12-year-olds, and he touched him like that. He says, so, the captain's looking at me, I'm looking, and we're looking, my voice like this. And he says, "No, you, mama." And so the boy said, because they call me Mum, what's he saying? So I said, "I think he's trying to ask you whether you know how to shoot as well as you can play football. I think he's trying to ask you whether you're a child soldier or whether you're involved in." So my boy was like, "Me? Papa? No, me? And it brought tears to my, because my child was trying to say, well, because he lost his parents, that no, I ran. I didn't kill, but I was running. And it brought them very close together. And that was the story, that was the Esther Hansen story. We started getting invitations. We went to Real Madrid, we played the youth side, we got invited to America, the mayor of Las Vegas. We played there, we went to the Youth World Cup in Sweden, the Gothia Youth World Cup. We were the Harlem City Globetrotters of Africa in terms of youth football, really. And we made our name, and the boys, not only did they have talents, but we used the football to shed light on Sierra Leone in that part of Africa, that there is more to Sierra Leone and more to our continent than just doom, gloom, corruption, fighting, what have you. And it paid off, and now there are solid team with quite a few boys that have come to Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool, and good on them.
Looking at all the great work that you've done in Sierra Leone in football, you took that a step further when we're looking at sport and how powerful it is helping communities, much like victims in Sierra Leone last year. You again, through sport, got involved to help your country.
Yeah, and it seems increasingly that, my mandate to run football in Sierra Leone to develop transformed into being like a aid worker or something. But yes, before the mudslides, which, a lot of people probably don't know, is we had a major drought problem, flooding problem, and that was probably a forewarning of what was to come, which we didn't adhere to. But there was massive floodings, and people died and homes were destroyed. And the most affected area was that which was very close to the academy, the secretariats, the FA. So yes, immediately we got into action again, providing food, clothing, all sorts of support. There I was carrying, trying to drag bags of rice all over the place to give aid. So we were supporting the mudslide. It started to get a little bit too political, but yes, through FIFA, we were there to dive in with support. I also have to mention and commend the British FA and the Premier League. They came and they gave support as well during the Corona times for the market women. I introduced water taps in the congested market areas so that the women in the market, they could be clean, and build toilets and water taps for them. So again,
yeah, due to time constraint, we're going to have to move on a little bit. I do want to touch upon the work that you do as a woman in sport and developing women's football on the continent. You're the president of CAF Women's Committee. We just had last week, and I was there in Morocco, and you were there as well, for the first ever CAF Women's Football Symposium, where the president of Liberia, George Weah's wife, was announced as the ambassador for women's football in Africa. Tell us about the work now that we're seeing with CAF in actually promoting the game on the continent.
Well, the work that I do, I guess I just inspire women, really. I'm a woman in a very male-dominated arena. I'm not used to working with women. In fact, this is going to be the most challenging role for me ever, having to work with women, developing the game for women in the continent. So I'm an inspiration for women, I guess, and I'm very humbled by that. In terms of women's football development, it's a very exciting time. Like you just mentioned, the first CAF Women's Symposium was held in Morocco, which in itself is a major step. It's peace, it's reaching out. It's about encouraging our women and the men who support women. We have to admit also, Millie, that there was a time when you and I didn't have a voice in football. You had men who were actually the ones pushing for women to be heard and for us to get into the game. So it was their time. It was time for us to lay bare the issues, the challenges that we face, and how we can encourage our women and our girls to break these boundaries and the barriers, and also to be very brutally honest with each other. Why is it that Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, they are always, I call them the token block. The token block. You know, the female, the women's, the World Cup, it's the same African female teams that you see, maybe one or two aspiring ones, or something like that. But it's these four major players. Why is it? You know, we talk it's the structures. Why do we not have these structures? We were talking earlier, we've got the talent in abundance, male and female. We're natural athletes. But what is it? It's the corruption. It's the indiscipline. You know, it's putting the wrong people in the right places all the time. You know, it's also, these were the issues that we were addressing at the symposium. And it went very well. I only did the first day because I had to need to come back home for the elections. But just today I was talking to the General Secretary of the CAF, and we'll be having another meeting to put forward now these proposals so we can start to implement. We're going to definitely pay more attention to the local leagues in Africa, the female leagues, try to increase the leagues, try to support financially the clubs in these countries for women's development, and then go beyond the football and actually start to address issues through the power of football for our women, cultural barriers, religious barriers, what have you.
And really quickly, can you just tell us very quickly about Power Play? It's an initiative that you helped to launch to empower women and girls in Africa and bringing more prosperity. Can you tell us very quickly about that project?
Power Play is giving African girls and women a voice through football or sports. Just like I said, you know, there are issues that I am a football administrator, and I'm renowned globally for that. I don't play football, I play this recreationally with my brothers. But there are other women who would like to get in the game, but they say, we know absolutely nothing about football. Well, I don't play football. You can be involved and you can get up to the highest level in football government. You can be a lawyer and study sports law. You can be a doctor and do sports medicine. You can be a seamstress with very little academic knowledge and sew jerseys for your team. Do you understand? This is all gender empowerment. So that's what it is. It's gender empowerment. And very finally, I'm going to be launching my own range of fragrances and candles. And I've got a portion of land that I want the women farmers to actually cultivate that land and replant like the lemongrass and other crops, so that the story will read like this. This is where it started, and the women cultivated the land. So from nothing or grassroots to luxury. So that is all powerful.
Thank you, Aisha. We've run out of time, so pass back.
Yes, let's give another big hand for our